Thanks for the kind introduction, and I guess I also have to thank Janos for insisting on me actually coming here. And the collaboration I've had with Joseph has also been quite fruitful, and I've been bugging him about all kinds of features. But I guess that to start this talk, which named Migrating, a legacy platform from the DOS age to Instant JChem, this is, the first part is actually something that we did in 2013. So with ChemAxon. But now we are looking into see if we somehow can integrate ChemLocator into this entity. So just to place the company on Earth, the founder founded the company back in '56. It was actually started on master support after Second World War. And initially it was more operating as a university, more as a CRO as it is working now. And in '83, the founder was bought out by a foundation, employee foundation. So the company is now independent and under full control. We have 62 years of experience. We mainly focus on process development. We have lab scale, and our main focus is moving things from the lab into the pilot plant. So we can do anything from gram scale to 10, 15 kilos, which will typically be in the area where we are working. And we are mostly working with GMP products. We've been doing that, I think, since '89. We've been operating in this area, and I think it's growing in importance. Probably also because nowadays most projects are active pharmaceutical ingredients, while in the old days you had all kinds of projects coming from all sources that was a lot different than we see today. And here's just an overview that we sort of fill in the slots from preclinical trials to phase 3. And typically when you reach phase 3, our process will go to a real factory where the end process will be further improved. And here, this is a small company, which is also why I thought it was a good idea to introduce it first, because we are only 36 people. When I started in 2001, we were only 15, so we have been growing, but not fast. So there's the main people, the 14 people in process development are the project managers, are actually pushing the projects that we're getting from our customers through. And those are the people that are my concern, in the sense that I have to provide a solution for them that they can look into the reactions that we have done over the years. So let's get into the database. Actually, the database was originally set up in '56 because the founder, he was organized in some way. He was not very good at making money, but he decided from day one, we need a database with all reactions need a unique number. So he made handwritten index cards, which at that time was a database, of course not a really efficient one to search in. So all reactions since day one was structured this way. So all reactions performed at the company had unique numbers. Around 1990, we had around 5,000 to 6,000 reactions, and it started to be a little difficult to actually go through all these index cards and actually look up if you actually did the reaction. And a young student that was finishing his degree at engineering school was hired over a couple of summers to actually put in all the reactions into, at that time, really good database called ChemBase, which was DOS-based and a very efficient tool. So he managed to put all the reactions into this database, and this database was maintained for many years, especially because over the years, when I started in 2001, after a couple of years, I took over the responsibility of the database, and at that point, well, the DOS platform was beginning to be obsolete. It was getting harder to run DOS on the Windows machines, but also the companies we approached, like Cambridge Soft, they did not know how to convert the data. They could sort of take the old data from the DOS platform and move it forward, but the relation between the starting materials and products disappeared. So there happened something with the standard format over the years that was forgotten. So at a point in time, I approached ChemAxon, and they were willing to look into it. I think Ivan, that's sitting in the back row, he was involved in that back in 2013. And ChemAxon tried to do something about this. Is just a screenshot of the old database, a DOS screen. And at that time, we actually had to run it in a DOS emulator to make it work. The reaction is actually a name reaction. It's called the Clauson-Kaas pre-roll condensation. So company, especially from the sort of university time, did more research-based chemistry. So that's one of the few reactions that we actually have named after the company. The main problem was my colleagues were a bit afraid of using DOS. So we needed to push it forward, and ChemAxon seemed to be the only people really willing to try and help us. Eventually, they found, I think there was actually a published article where the recipe of how the data was stored was in. So we managed to sort of find a way to move the data forward. First, we did a small pilot test, and since that turned out successfully in the beginning of 2014, we decided to freeze the whole database and convert it all, and it turned out well. I think we had a few bits and pieces that we needed to organize, but it was not more than, I think, 40 or 50 entries that we needed to do something about out of 8,000 entries. So from that perspective, it was a successful story. So now we have a situation where the same reaction is now in Instant JChem, and especially my younger colleagues, they're quite happy now. They can actually work in this. They are not scared. So that's a good thing. So now I've been working with Joseph for, I think, 1.5 years or something like that, testing out ChemLocator, and I've constantly been talking to him about, well, could it be possible maybe to use ChemLocator to organize documents and maybe connect it to Instant JChem? That could be nice, because over the years, I think especially around the 80s, we started to make sort of electronic records. Well, at that time, it was WordPerfect and later Word, and they are still around. But at that time, the founder was actually not anymore in the company, and at that time, people thought it was a good idea just to store the reports under the customer name. But eventually, when you have thousands of reports and some customers you have done more than 100 projects for, it begins to get difficult. Sometimes the CEO can remember precisely which report you need to go into, but for younger colleagues, it's not really an efficient way of finding this information, which means that this information will be lost. They might go to Reaxys and do a search and find some articles, but the actual lab notebooks that represent things that didn't work is, from my perspective, a lot more important. Also because we have always been focused in upscaling, so things that are important in that sense is also in those documents. So I've been asking the question, can ChemLocator help us trying to organize our electronic documents in a better way? And I guess we don't really have the answer yet. Well, we can create a database easily and look for products. So from that perspective, it works. And we have now an easy way to actually look up reactions, or at least look up materials that has actually been cited in those reports. So from that perspective, this is really good. But of course, I want to achieve more. So it would be really, really nice. Can we connect the two things? Because for me, it's an obvious progression. If I can increase the value of the Instant JChem database I already have, which in our company was sort of the successor of these index cards that we used originally, but we have this unique number for all reactions we've done. So this unique identifier, I would really like to sort of put that into the same relation as the database that is created by ChemLocator. So we're discussing various approaches. Maybe we can do some kind of connection from Instant JChem, maybe we can do some connection from ChemLocator, and I think that all ideas at the moment are up in the air, and eventually we'll work out a solution. And I know that at some point ChemLocator will also be able to search for reactions, which especially for my database is more important because, well, it's actually a reaction database. So if I can do the relation between the unique number and actual reactions, I really have a strong system. So I think as a conclusion, well, we successfully, with the aid of ChemAxon, managed to transfer our own DOS-based ChemBase. And now all my colleagues are actually using the database. And I think since we started using Instant JChem, we've added more than 1,000 reactions over the last 4 years or something like that. So from that perspective, it's definitely a success. Somebody still needs to do a review of all the things they put into the database, because from a sort of consistency perspective, that's important. It needs to be a true representation of what's actually going on. So that is definitely good. I think the ChemLocator has already helped us in the way that younger colleagues are a lot easier. They have the better ability to actually find the information that we already have, because even though we have printed versions of all the reports, it's still a lot easier for just search for it and you will find it. And I'm pretty sure that eventually we'll work out how to connect the ChemLocator with Instant JChem and move it forward, and then increase the value further of our current database and make it even more useful. So that's basically what I have to say. So thank you for your kind attention.
Actually, it's not a question, it's just a comment. We already discussed, but you didn't have a chance to try the reaction search, but because it's not released, it's production ready, but it's not released, so that's why you couldn't try it, but we already implemented the reaction search. So in a ChemLocator next version, the reaction search is there and it's usable. So it will maybe help you more.
I'm sure it will.
And then I guess the next step is to take it from IJC to Plexus Connect and get you web-based.
Maybe, yeah.
Good.